Right now on News 4 at 6, Rogowski is running after being forced to leave his seat on the Cheektowaga Town Board. James Rogowski is gearing up to campaign. Hear how he's planning to get a spot back on the board.
And looking a little murky outside in the skies over western New York. We are going to see a few more showers and thunderstorms later tonight and again tomorrow. Some of those could be strong to severe. We'll have the latest coming up.
And love on the line. Time is ticking for the I Love New York signs to be removed along all state highways. We'll tell you how much money the Empire State could lose if those signs stay up.
Live in high definition, this is Western New York's news leader. Now, News 4 at 6.
In tough times, I will always fight back. And if it's the political machine against me, let the political machine do what it's got to do.
Well, despite being kicked off the Cheektowaga Town Board, former Councilman Jim Rogowski says he's not giving up and he will run for that same seat again. Earlier this month, a judge ruled that Rogowski vacated his seat and violated his oath of office when he pleaded guilty to attempted criminal contempt.
He was charged for violating an order of protection related to his wife, who filed for divorce in January. News 4's Marissa Perlman spoke to Rogowski about his campaign plans. Marissa?
Don, Jim Rogowski will be running as an independent, as what he calls the People's Choice candidate. He says while he only has a few weeks left to campaign, he'll focus on changes he's made through economic development in town during his tenure on the town board. Now, Rogowski is walking door to door now to get signatures. He needs 1,106 to make it on the ballot in time for the election. He says as of today, he's well on his way to doing that, too. In February, Rogowski was arrested after allegedly chasing his wife's car, violating an order of protection she filed against him. He was charged with menacing and criminal contempt. But Rogowski says he never violated his oath of office, and the town board is using his divorce as a tool to drive him out of office.
The people of this town have elected me the #1 vote getter in the last 3 elections I have run. And the reason I believe that is because people believe in my leadership. It's unfortunate that my personal life, and unless you've ever been divorced, you don't even know what goes on in that type of situation. It is sad that that has come to be public.
So why run? Rogowski tells us he believes it should be up to the voters, not a judge or the town supervisor or board, whether he should be on the board. Rogowski will be holding meet and greets with the community over the next couple of weeks so people can hear his story in person. Brian Polarski, executive director at Seneca Babcock Community Association, will fill the Democratic line in the election to fill Rogowski's vacancy in November. Marissa Perlman, News 4.
The deadline for those I Love New York signs to be taken down is coming up quickly. The feds say the tourism signs are illegal and could be distracting to drivers.
The state has until Sunday to get them down, or else they'll lose out on a lot of federal money. News 4's Chris Hervadets has more. Chris?
Well, anyone who's been following this story knows it's been ongoing for a while now. State transportation officials and federal transportation officials have been going back and forth debating what should happen next and when. Those discussions are continuing. I learned today now 5 days until that deadline on Sunday. At stake is $14 million in federal highway funding that the feds have threatened to withhold if the signs aren't taken down. There are about 500 of them across the state. And the feds say they violate federal regulations basically because they're too distracting and difficult to read. Governor Andrew Cuomo, however, has responded, saying the signs help the state's $100 billion tourism industry. With Sunday's deadline days away, some state lawmakers are expressing frustration that the signs are still up.
This is going to cost the state a lot of money in penalties. And the second thing is, if you drive on the thruway, the signs are totally meaningless. They don't tell you where to go. They don't give you any meaningful information. So, it's a double whammy.
So what are state officials saying about this? Well, they're telling me they're working with the feds to resolve any remaining issues, but they are also saying we should expect an update soon. All the feds will tell me right now is that discussions are still ongoing. Chris Horvat, News 4.
We're going to switch gears right now, and we're going to turn to the weather. Here's a live look over downtown Buffalo, and we're seeing some gray skies out there over the metro area. We've also seen a few raindrops here and there as our North Buffalo Studios had some raindrops on our cars today.
Oh, that's right. Our chief meteorologist, Todd Santos, can tell us what's coming tonight, Todd.
Well, a few more rounds. And there are some areas that have seen quite a bit less than others, but there's still a whole mess ahead of a cold front that has to work its way through. Then it'll be quiet for Wednesday night, Thursday, and most of Friday. But at least for now, much of the day today, we've dealt with this low cloud cover. The deck here is about 2,500 feet, or should I say the cloud cover is about 2,500 feet off the deck. So overcast conditions at Niagara Falls. Same story in Buffalo right now. We have had a couple breaks here and there, but in general, part of what got things going last night with those showers we were dealing with was a warm front lifted north. Well, it also opened the door for these pretty nice temperatures, breeze out of the south and southeast. Notice back here, there's some changes around Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago. That's the cold front. And you'll see this kind of dividing line showing up in the line of thunderstorms coming up in a moment. But at least for what we've seen so far, nearly a ½ inch in Buffalo. We've seen just over a ½ inch in Bradford, PA. These are just since midnight last night, and the rain actually started just before midnight, nearly a ½ inch in Wellsville also. And I mentioned this earlier, and we'll touch on it again coming up, but I think a lot of us are still on track to see an additional 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch worth of rain between tonight and tomorrow. But in the short term, and I mean the next couple of hours, leading into sunset and just beyond that, I think we'll be mostly quiet here. You still see some stuff kind of working its way in our direction, but the real activity is still way back to the west. So our northern counties, quiet at this point, just far southern Potter County dealing with some of that kind of steadier light rain, and that's really it. That's missing Coudersport to the south. And I mentioned the front. That's what it looks like on radar. So that's the piece that will be on our doorstep by, say, around lunchtime tomorrow. Out ahead of it, though, you see a few other clusters of thunderstorms here, including down towards Cincinnati. That's the type of stuff that starts to show up in the models as we hit, say, the early morning hours tomorrow and even leading into, say, about lunchtime. Temperatures right now 71 in Buffalo, 61 down towards Olean. So for tonight, we'll find most numbers getting back into about the mid-60s across the area. Breeze out of the south and southwest. It doesn't really die down, so you need to be kind of in a sheltered location. Some of those southern valleys may be, able to get some fog going in early tomorrow morning. Most of us, though, it's just too windy to actually get the fog to set up. Breeze starts off out of the southwest, shifts to the northwest. Cold front moves through about midday tomorrow. So the better chance for those thunderstorms really through the first half of the day. And then you look at the 7-day forecast. Temperatures kind of hover right around average through Thursday and Friday. There is still a limited rain chance for the weekend, but it's nothing like the rain we're dealing with tonight or tomorrow. It's more of an opportunity for a few stray showers. So right now it still is timing out mainly for Saturday night and early Sunday. The models have been varying by over 12 hours. That's why you've seen it kind of moving around here from the morning shows to the evening shows. And then into next week, Monday night to Tuesday does look like a much better opportunity for some showers. So that's at least what we're looking at the moment, timing-wise. And I'll send it back to you, Don, Jackie.
Thank you, Todd. Remember, you can always take the forecast with you anywhere, anytime, anywhere you go. Just download the News 4 app. It's free for your phone or tablet.
A troubled apartment complex on Buffalo's east side is now under a court-assigned receiver after federal housing officials say it failed an inspection miserably. HUD officials listed more than 100 health and safety deficiencies at town gardens, some of which were called life-threatening.
But as Al Vaughters tells us tonight, officials at Town Gardens say they fixed those health issues and they are turning the apartment complex around. Al?
Well, last summer, federal housing officials inspected Town Gardens, and out of a score of 100, they gave the apartment complex a 37C. They failed miserably, and the C stands for life-threatening conditions. The apartments got a limited re-inspection last month, and the operators believe federal officials will find the apartments much improved. The privately owned Town Gardens complex has been known as a troubled housing development for years. 3 years ago, Senator Charles Schumer demanded federal housing officials intervene and straighten out the complex.
They found leaky roofs, broken toilets that never worked, lights that didn't work, not enough heat in cold days.
That same year, the post office refused to deliver mail because the snow wasn't removed from the sidewalks. And then just last month, state, local, and federal law enforcement announced the indictment of 12 gang members on drug and racketeering charges.
The worst of the worst, not just the gang members, but the people, the shooters in the gang, and the enforcers in the gang. And those are the ones that we are taking out. So we're taking out the most violent gang members.
But in the last few months, there's been a management change at Town Gardens. And they're making progress, spending more than $200,000 to make needed repairs. Property manager Bonnie Smith says they're not nearly finished.
Just roofing alone. If you go to our our walk-up units. We have 6 units that need roofs, and that they're about $13,000 to $16,000 apiece.
Smith told us the change has not come easily. Some staff just didn't have the training or knowledge to get the job done, and they were let go. Now, when a resident puts in a work order, it gets immediate attention.
Prior to my arrival, what they were doing, because there was no supplies, they would go to an empty unit or a vacant unit and take supplies out of there to fix somebody else's unit.
Cannibalize.
Yeah.
The inspectors also found wiring issues, leaky roofs, and other housing problems, but Bonnie Smith told us she believes the worst problems have been corrected, and the others, well, they'll get fixed very soon. Al Waters, News 4.
Well, another Sears store is closing its doors in our area, this time right at Eastern Hills Mall in Clarence. According to the Sears Jobs website, the store is still hiring seasonal workers for the holiday season, but in that description it reads, store is closing. The Labor Department says 40 workers will lose their jobs. The store will be closing in December.
Well, still ahead at 6, after Hurricane Florence devastated parts of the Carolinas, some Western New Yorkers there are sharing their experience with the storm. We'll have a look at the damage and the help they're receiving tonight.